Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and I'm here with my daughter Sonia. Hi, Sonia. Okay, we are continuing with the study of the text of A Course in Miracles. We are continuing with chapter 19, the attainment of peace. And we are starting section 4. Now, section 4, the obstacles to peace, is really long. It has subsections with subsections under that. So we're going to cover just the first subsection A, which is the first obstacle, the desire to get rid of it. Okay, referring to peace, of course. And under that is the attraction of guilt. Let's just look at the overall before we get into it, so we have kind of an overall idea of what's here. Okay, the second obstacle, section B, is the belief the body is valuable for what it offers. And under that is the attraction of pain. And then section C is a third obstacle, which is the attraction of death. And under that is the incorruptible body. And then the fourth section, the last one, D, is the fourth obstacle, the fear of God. And the subsection is the lifting of the veil. Okay, so let's start with section A, the first obstacle to peace. And we're going to start, we don't actually start with the first section. There's just 3 paragraphs in the introduction. So let me go ahead and start reading. Paragraph 1. As peace extends from deep inside yourself to embrace all the sonship and give it rest, it will encounter many obstacles. Some of them you will try to impose. Others will seem to arise from elsewhere, from your brothers, and from various aspects of the world outside. Yet peace will gently cover them, extending past, completely unencumbered. The extension of the Holy Spirit's purpose from your relationship to others, to bring them gently in, is the way in which He will bring means and goal in line. The peace He lay deep within you and your brother will quietly extend to every aspect of your life, surrounding you and your brother with glowing happiness and the calm awareness of complete protection. And you will carry its message of love and safety and freedom to everyone who draws nigh unto your temple, where healing waits for him. You will not wait to give him this, for you will call to him, and he will answer you, recognizing in your call the call for God. And you will draw him in and give him rest as it was given you. Okay, now remember that that healing is inner peace. So these are the obstacles to peace, which would mean they're the obstacles to healing. And so we want to keep that in mind, because the purpose is always healing in my mind. That's the purpose for everything that seems to happen in the world. So this is a pretty important chapter and important section, because it's pretty much outlining everything that's in the way of healing. And so, the goal is inner peace. So we want to be able to undo anything that would be getting in the way. Okay, And so this gives us kind of an overview. It's just saying, look, some of those obstacles seem to be coming from within you, some of them from outside of you, some of them from your brothers. So it doesn't really matter where they seem to come. The bottom line is that peace is within us. See the first line, as peace extends from deep inside yourself. So it's not something that we accomplish or we achieve or we try to get from outside of ourselves. It's something that is already within ourselves, and it's a matter of becoming aware of it. So the only blocks that are there are to the awareness of it. Not to the peace itself. Okay, so okay, so any questions in you with the first one? No. Okay, go ahead and read number 2.
This will you do, yet the peace that already lies deeply within must first expand and flow across the obstacles you place before it. This will you do, for nothing undertaken with the Holy Spirit remains unfinished. You can indeed be sure of nothing you see outside you, but of this you can be sure. The Holy Spirit asks that you offer him a resting place where you will rest in him. He answered you and entered your relationship. Would you not now return his graciousness and enter into a relationship with him? For it is he who offered your relationship the gift of holiness, without which it would have been forever impossible to appreciate your brother.
Okay, anything there, Cindy?
When it says, and the Holy Spirit asks that you offer him a resting place where you will rest in him, is it just talking about like stillness or like the present moment?
Yes, because that's what inner peace is. So the experience or the awareness of that inner stillness is the resting place where um, I think it's referred to the holy temple somewhere else in the course, but it's really it's where the Holy Spirit resides, which is our real mind. Um, and it is where we open our mind to the Holy Spirit to receive guidance. So it's where we are connected to the Holy Spirit as our higher self. Maybe another word for that would be the Christ mind also. Yeah, because it's our holy mind, basically. So would you not now return his graciousness and enter into relationship with him? Yes, so so there's other places where the Course talks about the gifts of God. So here's the gift of holiness. There's, the gift of joy, the gift of happiness. So peace, peace is also a gift of God, you could say. And it's really the end or the undoing of all conflict within us. Because underneath sickness is conflict, is a split mind. So inner peace is really the undoing of an unsplit mind. So it would be the whole mind. It would be oneness. And in oneness, we are in a position where we appreciate our brother because let's see, we don't because we don't heal alone. We heal as one self. So it's kind of the same thing. It's the recognition of oneness that is the healing of our mind, because it's the undoing of the belief in separation from my brother, which is the idea of true forgiveness. I forgive my brother for what he did not do, meaning we are one mind. And so I'm doing it to myself, because there is no separation. And the mind cannot attack. So the mind is holy. So there is no belief in separation there. There's just love. Okay. Okay, number 3. The gratitude you owe to him, he asks, but that you receive for him. And when you look with gentle graciousness upon your brother, you are beholding him, for you are looking where he is and not apart from him. You cannot see the Holy Spirit, but you can see your brothers truly, and the light in them will show you all that you need to see. When the peace in you has been extended to encompass everyone, the Holy Spirit's function here will be accomplished. What need is there for seeing then? When God has taken the last step himself, the Holy Spirit will gather all the thanks and gratitude that you have offered him and lay them gently before his Creator in the name of his most holy Son, and the Father will accept them in his name. What need is there of seeing in the presence of his gratitude? Okay, so the gratitude you owe of him, he asks, but that you receive of him. Because giving is receiving. So the extending of gratitude to our brothers is the receiving. We can only give what we receive. So we must receive that you receive for him. The gratitude you owe to him, he asks that you receive for him. Let's see. Yes, so the looking here is the looking beyond the body to the Holy Spirit, which is the light within all of us. So it's looking with Holy Spirit vision, so you can see your brothers truly. That's line 4. Because the Holy Spirit is not visible to the body's eyes, but it's but it's a vision of within that's a knowing of the truth uh, of what we are as God created us. And that's the light. So when the peace in you has been extended to encompass everyone. So by sharing by sharing peace, by giving forgiveness, by sharing joy, let's see, um, by giving gratitude, receiving gratitude, by all of that is the way that the peace within expands, and the peace within is healing. So we're sharing and giving healing, as miracle workers, because when the mind is healed, the miracle worker has accepted the atonement for himself. And that's the one requirement that the Course says that we need to accept in order to be able to, in order for the mind to be of service, for our mind to be of service to others, because that's how the love, Holy Spirit, the light within is shared and extended. And then it talks about basically the end of perception here, because, which is revelation, because it says, when the peace in you has been extended to encompass everyone, no exception, then the Holy Spirit's function here will be accomplished. Then we have no more need for learning. And that's the function of the Holy Spirit as a teacher. So what need is there for seeing then? So then we wouldn't need the body's eyes for seeing or for perceiving, because God has taken the last step. And so then that would be knowledge. That would be the last, undoing of the first split, which was perception. Yeah, and so, yeah. So that would be an experience of revelation here, because it would be direct communication with God. The Holy Spirit would not need to be there as our link to knowledge. Okay, paragraph, okay, here's the first obstacle, the desire to get rid of it. Go ahead and read that. It's in the first paragraph.
First obstacle that peace must flow across is your desire to get rid of it. For it cannot extend unless you keep it. You are the center from which it radiates outward to call the others in. You are its home, its tranquil dwelling place from which it gently reaches out, but never leaving you. If you would make it homeless, how can it abide within the Son of God? If it would spread across the whole creation, it must begin with you, and from you to reach to everyone who calls and bring him rest by joining you.
Okay. What is it saying, Sonia?
Well, I reject the peace. That's the first obstacle. So peace never leaves. It's just my denial of it, the desire to get rid of it.
Okay, and why would you desire to get rid of it?
Because I value fear sin and punishment more than I do happiness. I'd rather be right than wrong. I don't know any.
Yeah, so basically it's incorrect valuing. We've taught ourselves to value what is valueless. Um, and so, the perception is upside down. Um, most of the entertainment industry is based on action, reaction, attack. Um, so it's not let's see. It's distraction, okay? And so I think sometimes we confuse peace with distraction because we um, we don't cultivate forgiveness in order to hold on to inner peace. Maybe what we cultivate basically is getting even, or getting ahead in terms uh, of superiority, inferiority, or dominance, um, submissive or control, force. So it's always it's always it's always in opposition to others, to our brothers. So um, we call that action. Okay. I mean, look at all the video games. Okay, look at let's see. Look at, sports, look at just just about everything. Um, is that we tend to associate boredom with peace. Okay. And that's not really peace. That's boredom is just repetition of the same thing. So we don't really have a good understanding of even of what peace is. Um, because even when, for example, even when there's, say, conflict in the world, and one country, is fighting another country, and then they have a ceasefire, or they have a truce, or one wins the other. Okay, there's still that sense of separation and distrust and opposition. Um, so even if there's no active conflict, the conflict is still held against, the other, because we're perceiving differences. We're perceiving a self and a not self that is in opposition. So yes, so we're actually used to conflict. We're familiar with conflict, and we're not very familiar with inner peace. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I remember at the very beginning when I was just looking at some of these ideas, even just trying to bring my attention and staying in the present moment without any thought felt really, really uncomfortable. And I wasn't able to do it for more than just a few seconds. So it's a whole practice of because the mind, we're used to thinking that uh, constant activity of thoughts that are in a lot of ways just associated to one another, and are and don't really make a lot of sense sometimes. We're used to all of that, so we don't even question it. So the desire to get rid of peace is because it almost feels like it's alien to us. It's unfamiliar. So, okay, paragraph 2. Why would you want peace homeless? What do you think that it must, what do you think that it must dispossesses? What? What do you think that it must dispossess to dwell within you? What seems to be the cost you are so unwilling to pay? The little barrier of sand still stands between you and your brother. Would you reinforce it now? You are not asked to let it go for yourself alone. Christ asks it of you for himself. He would bring peace to everyone. And how can he do this except through you? Would you let a little bank of sand, a wall of dust, a tiny seeming barrier stand between your brother and salvation? And yet, this little remnant of attack you cherish still against your brother is the first obstacle the peace in you encounters in its going forth. This little wall of hatred would still oppose the will of God and keep it limited. Okay, so here's what the first obstacle is, the desire to get rid of peace. It's because we're valuing incorrectly, which is we're valuing the little remnant of attack, see, that you cherish. So that's valuing there. And so this little wall of hatred would still oppose the will of God and keep it limited. Yeah, so basically, hatred is the desire to attack. And that is the desire to get rid of peace, because if we attack, we don't want peace. We want conflict, war, battle. And for some reason, conflict, war, and battle become attractive. I think later on we'll see why there's attraction there, but that's the first obstacle. Okay. Number 3, Sonia.
The Spirit's purpose rests in peace within you, yet you are still unwilling to let it join you wholly. You still oppose the will of God just by little, and that little is a limit you would place upon the whole. God's will is one, not many. It has no opposition, for there is none beside it. What you would still contain behind your little barrier and keep separate from your brother seems mightier than the universe, for it would hold back the universe and its creator. This little wall would hide the purpose of heaven and keep it from heaven.
Yes, so the idea is that, just we still oppose the will of God just a little because we are not willing to forgive everyone. We want to hold on to this one little exception. Okay. We want to make sure that we hold on to this one little grievance against this one person, okay, that we can't stand. But everyone else we're willing to forgive. So it was up here where it said that there's something about without exception. I don't remember. I think it said something about, oh, well, yeah, the last step is taken by God. Once we have completely forgiven everyone without exception, no, the forgiven world, basically. Yeah, because it's not, there's no matter of degree um, in the miracles. So there's love is completely unconditional without any kind of exception. Otherwise, we're asking for, specialness. It's a wish for specialness. Um, let's just make an exception, for this one person. I just want to hold on to a little bit of hate. So, um, okay, so yeah, see line 2, yet you are still unwilling to let it join you wholly, complete peace, you know, no little dark corners in our mind. So, um, okay, number 4. Would you thrust salvation away from the giver of salvation? For such have you done. Peace could no more depart from you than from God. Fear not this little obstacle. It cannot contain the will of God. Peace will flow across it and join you without hindrance. Salvation cannot be withheld from you. It is your purpose. You cannot choose apart from this. You have no purpose apart from your brother, nor apart from the one you ask the Holy Spirit to share with you. The little wall will fail away so quietly beneath the wings of peace. For peace will send its messengers from you to all the world, and barriers will fall away before their coming as easily as those that you interpose will be surmounted. Yes, so I mean, the Course says that our brother is the giver of salvation, okay, because um, they are the opportunity for us to recognize that we are just oneself um, through our function of forgiveness. So, um, and peace cannot depart from us because it is within us, um, because it is also from God, and God cannot depart from us despite belief in separation, which is an illusion. It's not real. So, um, so this obstacle is a wish. It's line 5 says, this fear not this little obstacle. It cannot contain the will of God. Okay, so the obstacle does not contain the will of God because nothing can oppose the will of God. So that little bit of hatred or that desire to attack is not the will of God. And because it is not the will of God, it is not anything. It's not anything real. So all obstacles are believed to be opposition in error. It's an error because there is no God cannot be opposed. So that's the error, the belief that God or eternal love can be opposed. And that would be hate and attack. That would be the belief. So, okay, number 5.
Actually, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'm a little confused of the way it's worded in 7 through 10, because it says salvation cannot be withheld from you. It is your purpose. So it's saying my purpose is salvation, is peace, right? You cannot choose apart from this. And 10, it says you have no purpose apart from your brother, nor apart from the one you ask the Holy Spirit to share with you. The words that it uses is confusing me. Does it mean that I share a purpose with my brother, or my purpose is my brother?
Okay.
apart from your brother, nor
Okay.
apart from the one you asked.
Yes. So our only real purpose, okay, is to heal our mind. And to heal our mind requires that we undo the belief in separation. So to be apart from our brother would be to believe in separation. So we would not have any real purpose if the belief in separation would mean that we would not have a real purpose because the mind would be unhealed. It would be sick. So a sick mind has no real purpose because sickness is a denial of the truth. And so the real purpose for us here is to heal the mind or to heal the sickness. And sickness is having an opposite, is going in the opposite direction. Okay, which means that it would be opposing reality, which would be an illusion or a dream. So we would have no purpose. So 10 says that we would have no purpose, okay, if we believe we are apart from our brother, because the mind would not be able to heal. So the whole purpose is to remember that we are not apart from our brother. And the way we remember that is by practicing forgiveness. So the little faith or the little willingness that's asked of us is that we practice forgiving our brother for what they did not do. Okay, which is bringing back, which is undoing level confusion and says, okay, wait a minute. What I think my brother did, he did not do. Okay, I'm interpreting it as a projection of guilt. Okay, so the error is in my mind. And so in doing that, I am correcting the misperception, which is a projection that keeps the error stuck in my mind and keeps the belief in separation going. So the healing, which is my only purpose, is to undo that error through the practice of forgiveness, which is what allows me to remember that I am not apart from my brother. And that's why I forgive what my brother did not do, because it's my own mind that's projecting that interpretation of whatever he did. And the role that my brother is playing is how this comes up for me in my mind as the opportunity for healing that error. So I need my brother, basically, to play the role that triggers my upset so that I can remember the truth and correct the error in my mind. Did that make sense? No? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So salvation is basically the recognition that we are one self, which is the undoing of separation. Okay. And that is healing. So that cannot be withheld from us because that's what our purpose is. When we decide that we want to receive guidance from the Holy Spirit instead of the ego, we are accepting the purpose of the healing of our mind, because we don't want to be sick. We don't want to suffer. And therefore, we open the mind to letting go of our ego thoughts. And our ego thoughts tell us that we're separate. And so we're opening the mind to remembering that those thoughts are not true, that thoughts of separation are not true. And that's how we begin to remember that we are one self. And so my brother cannot really attack me. And that's why I forgive him. Because it's an error in my own mind. It's a misperception. Because our true mind does not attack. Attack itself is not real. That's why in the beginning, up there, it said that the remaining block was attack and hate, a little hate and attack. That's still in our mind. Well, that's still illusion. That's still the ego thought system. So our purpose, when we choose our purpose as healing, which is salvation, which is recognizing that we are one with all our brothers, that's the real, that brings forward, that undoes the illusion of the unreal world so that the real world can shine through. And the only thing that we can choose is what is real, because what is illusory seems to be there, but it's not really there. So it cannot really be chosen in truth. Okay? You have no purpose apart from your brother, nor apart from the one you ask Holy Spirit to share with you. Okay. So that's our only purpose. Our only purpose is for healing. And that's the one purpose that we ask the Holy Spirit to share with us, because we're asking Holy Spirit for healing, for the healing of our mind. And in order to heal our mind, we need to share healing, and we share healing through forgiveness. And we need a brother to forgive, because we believe that we are separate from our brothers. So that's why we need our brother, because that's the perception of separation, is that we have others who are not us. I don't know. Did that make sense, Sonia?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. All right. Paragraph 5. I don't remember if it was your turn or my turn. Do you want to read?
Sure. To overcome the world is no more difficult than to surmount your little wall. For in the miracle of your holy relationship, without this barrier, is every miracle contained. There is no order of difficulty in miracles, for they are all the same. Each is a gentle winning over from the appeal of guilt to the appeal of love. How can this fail to be accomplished wherever it is undertaken? Guilt can raise no real barriers against it, and all that seems to stand between you and your brother must fall away because of the appeal you answered. From you who answered, he who answered you would call. His home is in your holy relationship. Do not attempt to stand between him and his holy purpose, for it is yours. But let him quietly extend the miracle of your relationship to everyone contained in it as it was given.
Okay. Holy Spirit is basically working through us to heal the world. Okay. So So surmounting our little wall is basically letting go of that little hatred and that desire to attack, because we recognize that love is more appealing than guilt. And because we recognize that guilt only brings suffering. And, when we really look at it, as confused as we are, at some point, we do get tired of suffering. Even if it's fun, it does get tiring and exhausting. So the appeal of love in the end is winning. See, each is a gentle winning over from the appeal of guilt to the appeal of love. So each of us, as we do our, healing work, we are contributing to this, let's see, circle of atonement, the Course calls it, which is opening our mind so that it is available and for the Holy Spirit to work through us. Because let's see, because it is one mind, but because we all have free will, and because we start off with the belief that we're an individual, then so we have to start from that place and quote unquote individually decide for love rather than for attack and for hate. And this is how we maintain our inner peace. Every time that we choose forgiveness rather than the grievance, this is our decision to hold on to guilt and therefore we have it to give. And others can see that and will find that appealing. Okay, so I've had people ask me, at various times, well, yeah, whatever it is that you're doing, I want some of that. Okay, because they want to be able to stay calm and not experience suffering in difficult situations. So who doesn't want to be able to live in peace without suffering and, be happy and joyful in difficult times? Because whether the times are, the times are whatever they are, okay? The mind that recognizes that peace is within and that its source is God can stay, let's see, can stay what's the word? Undisturbed through stressful times. And hence that is going to maintain that's what's going to maintain our health ultimately. Okay, so yeah. So line 12, for peace will send its messengers from you to all the world, and barriers will fall away before their coming, as easily as those that you interpose will be surmounted. Let's see. Because the mind that is at the service of the Holy Spirit is safe and protected. And so there's no fear. Um, and let's see, without fear, there's no stress. And without stress, there's really nothing wrong that can show up as, symptomatic or problematic. Because remember, the Course says that all symptoms, all problems are really the same. It's the one problem of separation. So the mind that is at peace has accepted the atonement and recognizes there is no problem. And that's true. There is no problem. So all problems just disappear. Okay, number 5. Or did we just read that?
It's number 6.
Okay, go ahead and read it, Sonia.
There is a hush in heaven, a happy expectancy, a little pause of gladness in acknowledgement of the journey's end. For heaven knows you well, as you know heaven. No illusions stand between you and your brother now. Look not upon the little wall of shadows. The sun has risen over it. How can a shadow keep you from the sun? No more can you be kept by shadows from the light in which illusions end. Every miracle is but the end of an illusion. Such was the journey, such its ending. And in the goal of truth which you accepted must all illusions end.
Okay, so all problems are the same problem of separation. So all sickness is the same sickness, the problem of separation. And that problem is an illusion. And that's what every miracle demonstrates. Um, and the miracle is basically just a change in perception. It's a recognition of the truth. So, and in the recognition of the truth is the goal of truth accomplished. And that means the end of illusions. Okay. Okay, number 7. The little insane wish to get rid of him whom you invited in and push him out must produce conflict. As you look upon the world, this little wish, uprooted and floating aimlessly, can land and settle briefly upon anything, for it has no purpose now. Before the Holy Spirit entered to abide with you, it seemed to have a mighty purpose, the fixed and unchangeable dedication to sin and its results. Now it is aimless, wandering pointlessly, causing no more than tiny interruptions in love's appeal. Okay, so the tiny mad idea is this little insane wish, which would be to separate from or to get rid of him, capital H, whom you invited in. Yes, which is the memory of God, the present memory of God. And that's what must produce conflict, because the mind is split in the desire to get rid of eternal love, which we cannot get rid of, because that is essentially what we are. So that's what our mind holds, is eternal love. And so yes, so as the mind begins to recognize the truth, this tiny mad idea of separation no longer has a strong root in our mind. And now it just kind of comes and goes, and can, settle briefly on something. But it doesn't really have a strong pull. And so the idea of sin and guilt and, fear are not, do not possess us like they did before. So, where we weren't even aware, we were just acting them out. So, yeah. So we are now more and more grounded, more and more, let's see, more and more certain here that love is that there is nothing other um, than the appeal for love. Because everything else is really just is not real. It doesn't last. It's an illusion. It comes and goes. So, okay, number 8.
This feather of a wish, this tiny illusion, this microscopic remnant of the belief in sin, is all that remains of what once seemed to be the world. It is no longer an unrelenting barrier to peace. Its pointless wandering makes its results appear to be more erratic and unpredictable than before. Yet what could be more unstable than a tightly organized delusional system? Its seeming stability is its pervasive weakness, which extends to everything. The variability the little remnant induces merely indicates its limited results.
Yes. So as we look at the world, it is no longer a world that we just automatically judge and condemn and see it as sinful. It is, let's see, because we have been using it as as a opportunity for looking at the error and turning it over to the Holy Spirit for the healing of our mind, so that it's not so that the projection, so as the mind begins to recognize its holiness, it is no longer projecting sin, guilt, and fear. It is now just extending, for the most part, just love, peace, happiness, and joy. Um, and so the ego thought system is not uh, is not an overriding, controlling belief that kind of takes over the mind anymore. It's just this unstable, delusional system that is not taken seriously anymore. Yes, and so the only stability that it has is its own weakness, because it's based on littleness rather than recognizing oneness with God, who what that is everything. I mean, to be separate is to just be a little something that is apart from everything. Yeah, and so it's the ego thought system is basically a thought system of limitation, of impermanence, of a loss of eternity. And there's a lot of suffering and pain that goes with those ideas and those beliefs. Yeah. So anyway, okay, number 9. You want to read that, Sonia?
Sure, I just read, but I can read again.
Okay.
How mighty can a little feather be before the great wings of truth? Can it oppose an eagle's flight or hinder the advance of summer? Can it interfere with the effects of summer sun upon a garden covered by the snow? See but how easily this little wisp is lifted up and carried away, never to return and part with it in gladness, not regret. For it is nothing in itself and stood for nothing when you had greater faith in its protection. Would you not rather greet the summer sun than fix your gaze upon a disappearing snowflake and shiver in remembrance of the winter's cold?
Yeah. So this is talking about the, the letting go of the ego thought system and how there's gladness there, not regret. And so because it stood for nothing. And so even when we placed faith in its protection, it really did not offer protection. It offered unprotection at the same time, a contradiction. Okay, so the attraction of guilt is a subheading under this section A, which is the block to peace, the first obstacle, the desire to get rid of it. And so under that is the attraction of guilt, paragraph 10. The attraction of guilt produces fear of love. For love would never look on guilt at all. It is the nature of love to look upon only the truth, for there it sees itself, with which it would unite in a holy union and completion. As love must look past fear, so must fear see love not. For love contains the end of guilt, as surely as fear depends on it. Love is attracted only to love. Overlooking guilt completely, it sees no fear. Being wholly without attack, it could not be afraid. Fear is attracted to what love sees not. And each believes that what the other looks upon does exist.
Does not exist.
Oh, and each believes that what the other looks upon does not exist. Fear looks on guilt with just the same devotion that love looks on itself. And each has messengers which it sends forth, and which return to it with messages written in the language in which their going forth was asked. Okay. Okay, so the Course says that there's only two emotions, fear and love. And it's almost like this is saying that these are like two points of view here. And both of these points of view are seeing what they want to see, basically. Fear is attracted to what love sees not. And what love sees not is guilt. So fear is attracted to guilt. And therefore, fear would be attracted to condemnation, to attack, to war, to conflict, to sickness, basically. Yeah. And so the healing of the mind then requires that we release fear, because and therefore release the attraction to guilt also, because the attraction of guilt produces fear of love. Okay. Okay, so let's take, for example, attraction of guilt. So let's say, for example, that we have an association, right? Maybe when we're when we are kids, okay, and we have parents and maybe they restrict us from eating sweets. Okay, so they have to, put the cookie jar up high, or they have to kind of hide the Halloween candy or whatever. Okay. And hey, kids like sweets. So um, mom, dad aren't home. We go scrounging around and find the cookies and find the sweets. Okay. And so now we've basically disobeyed our parents and the rule of law. So we are now guilty of having broken broken the law at home. So because that is associated to the pleasure of eating the sweets, there's going to be an attraction to guilt. You can develop that over and over through an association. And so we can do that with a lot of different things. And so the idea of sin comes into play, and therefore, we may find sinful relationships. We may find repeating those because of that attraction to guilt. I think we read that in the previous section, one of those previous sections. So under the block to peace is the need to undo the attraction of guilt. Okay, so and and because it produces fear, we have to release fear. Because as long as there's fear, we're not going to be able to release the guilt. So we always have to release the fear first. And so if we release the fear, it means that we admit to our parents, okay, yes, I did. I snuck in. I did this, this, and this. Okay. And so then if the parents are forgiving, okay, they'll have to recognize that deprivation of sweets is not going to solve the problem of the kids not eating sweets. Okay, so we have to look for another way that is not that is not going to go to deprivation because there's going to be attraction to guilt there. So okay. So this is just saying that there's a loop there that reinforces itself, depending on whether you're coming from fear or you're coming from love. Okay, 11.
Love's messengers are gently sent and return with messages of love and gentleness. The messengers of fear are harshly ordered to seek out guilt and cherish every scrap of evil and of sin that they can find, losing none of them on pain of death, and laying them respectfully before their Lord and Master. Perception cannot obey two masters, each asking for messages of different things in different languages. What fear would feed upon, love overlooks. What fear demands, love cannot even see. The fierce attraction that guilt holds for fear is wholly absent from love's gentle perception. What love would look upon is meaningless to fear and quite invisible.
Okay, so I think that if we're very clear about whether we're in a place of fear and a place of love, it will be very easy to tell. Let's see. if we are in our right mind or not. Because perception cannot obey two masters. So either we are being directed and we're sending out, messengers to look for, sin and evil and guilt and pain of death. And that's what we're going to bring back. And yeah, if we don't want to bring back those messengers, those experiences, then we want to release fear and we want to choose love, which means that we want to practice forgiveness, because then we are deciding for love and not for fear. So yeah. Okay, number 12. My turn. Relationship in this world are the result of how the world is seen. And this depends on which emotion was called on to send its messengers to look upon it and return with word of what they saw. Fear's messengers are trained through terror, and they tremble when their master calls on them to serve him. For fear is merciless even to its friends. Its messengers steal guiltily away in hungry search of guilt. For they are kept cold and starving and made very vicious by their master, who allows them to feast only upon what they return to him. No little shred of guilt escapes their hungry eyes, and in their savage search for sin, they pounce on any living thing they see and carry it screaming to their master to be devoured. Okay, sounds that's very graphic. Okay. Okay, but we get the idea, yes. So fear and guilt have this way of looking for I think Eckhart Tolle calls it a pain body, of feeding on, okay, all these little things that we find in our friends, in our family, in the world, in the media, or whatever, that are used to, let's see, to critique, to put down, to, let's see, to feast upon is a pretty good way of looking at it. I kind of described it as a dog chewing on a bone kind of a thing. When, we start criticizing people, or we start judging them or degrading them or whatever, just that whole that whole viciousness of the ego. It's line 4. For fear is merciless even to its friends. So it turns, viciously against its friends. Yeah, because it's they're trained through terror. So it's an attraction to the horror and the drama and the death and the war and all of that. But it's saying that the relationships in this world are the result of how the world is seen. So all of our relationships are going to basically represent or show us how we are looking at the world, whether we are looking at it through fear or through love. That's why it's saying, and this depends on which emotion was called on to send its messengers to look upon it and return with word of what they saw. Because it's a like for like, okay, attraction. So we attract into our experience what is like those thoughts in our mind. So if they're attack thoughts, if they're fear thoughts, that's what comes back to us. Those are the messages that come back to us. Okay, 13.
Is it I forget whose turn it is.
Go ahead and read it. Send. Yeah.
Send not these savage messengers into the world to feast upon it and to prey upon reality, for they will bring you word of bones and skin and flesh. They have been taught to seek for the corruptible and to return with gorges filled with things decayed and rotted. To them, such things are beautiful because they seem to allay their savage pangs of hunger. For they are frantic with the pain of fear, and would avert the punishment of him who sends them forth by offering him what they hold dear.
Yeah, so it's looking at guilt as if it was a pain body that goes out looking for more pain to feed upon. Um, and then these messengers have to bring back that pain um, to avert punishment of him who sends them forth. Um, okay, so okay, 14. The Holy Spirit has given you love's messengers to send instead of those you trained through fear. They are as eager to return to you what they hold dear as are the others. If you send them forth, they will see only the blameless and the beautiful, the gentle and the kind. They will be as careful to let no little act of charity, no tiny expression of forgiveness, no little breath of love escape their notice, and they will return with all the happy things they found, to share them lovingly with you. Be not afraid of them. They offer you salvation. Theirs are the messengers of safety, for they see the world as kind. Yes, so the our perception is really sort of a what's the word? A kind of a loop, um, and the world is really just reflecting back that loop, and so it's feedback for us in terms of letting us know what thoughts we are holding in our mind that are being returned because they're of a like kind. Um, and so the holy mind can only see innocence um, because and so there is no evil because that's what the world will be. That's the real world for the holy mind. So for the unholy mind that sends out attack thoughts trained by fear, then what comes back is a world of separation and conflict and war and pain and death and it's a world of illusion. So it's an illusory world. It's not the real world. Um, but it's believed to be the real world because remember that fear cannot see what love sees. So fear cannot see the real world, can only see the illusory world that it's making, that's projecting. Okay, 15.
If you send forth only the messengers the Holy Spirit gives you, wanting no messages but theirs, you will see fear no more. The world will be transformed before your sight, cleansed of all guilt and softly brushed with beauty. The world contains no fear that you laid not upon it, and none you cannot ask love's messengers to remove from it, and see it still. The Holy Spirit has given you his messengers to send to your brother, and return to you with what love sees. They have been given to replace the hungry dogs of fear you sent instead, and they go forth to signify the end of fear.
Oh, okay. So the messengers of the Holy Spirit see only innocence. And so they return with messages of love and no fear. So that's the end of fear, and that's the end of sickness, because healing is a release of fear. Okay, 16. Love too would set a feast before you on a table covered with a spotless cloth, set in a quiet garden where no sound but singing and a softly joyous whispering is ever heard. This is a feast that honors your holy relationship, and at which everyone is welcomed as an honored guest. And in a holy instant, grace is said by everyone together as they join in gentleness before the table of communion. And I will join you there as long ago I promised and promise still. For in your new relationship am I made welcome, and where I am made welcome, there I am. Okay. Okay, so this is just giving us a picture of a garden set with a feast where everyone is welcome and joined. Okay, 17, Sonia.
I am made welcome in the state of grace, which means you have at last forgiven me, for I became the symbol of your sin, and so I had to die instead of you. To the ego, sin means death, and so atonement is achieved through murder. Salvation is looked upon as a way by which the Son of God was killed instead of you. Yet would I offer you my body, you whom I love, knowing its littleness? Or would I teach that bodies cannot keep us apart? Mine was of no greater value than yours, no better means for communication of salvation, but not its source. No one can die for anyone, and death does not atone for sin. But you can live to show it is not real. The body does appear to be the symbol of sin, while you believe that it can get you what you want. While you believe that it can give you pleasure, you will also believe that it can bring you pain. To think you could be satisfied and happy with so little is to hurt yourself, and to limit the happiness that you would have calls upon pain to fill your meager store and make your life complete. This is completion as the ego sees it. For guilt creeps in where happiness has been removed and substitutes for it. Communion is another kind of completion, which goes beyond guilt because it goes beyond the body.
Hey, okay, so this is sort of starting with some of the ideas that are taught in some of the traditional Christian denominations with the crucifixion of Jesus. Okay, and so a lot of the, for example, Catholic religion teaches that Jesus became the symbol of your sin, and so I had to die instead of you. So this is going through here, and it's sort of undoing those ideas, because to the ego, sin means death. And so atonement is achieved through murder. Okay. And that's not what the Course in Miracles teaches. Yeah, it's correcting the errors that are here. Salvation is looked upon as a way by which the Son of God was killed instead of you. So that's an error. And he's explaining why that's an error. He's saying, well, would I offer you my body you whom I love, knowing its littleness? That doesn't make any sense. Or would I teach that bodies cannot keep us apart? Well, he would teach that bodies could not keep us apart because we are not the body, we are eternal spirit. So, and, he's just further saying that, my body was of no greater value than yours. So it was not necessarily a better means for communication of salvation. So, because a lot of times, the like the Catholic Church would say that that Jesus was, well, I have known Catholics who would say, no, I can't forgive because I'm not like Jesus Christ. Okay. That's, basically making inequality there. And what he's saying here is no, there's no difference here between my body and your body. So, yeah. Yeah. And so then it makes the argument here that the body does appear to be the symbol of sin while you believe that it can get you what you want. So while you believe that it has some kind of power over God, basically, while you believe that it can give you pleasure. So if we make sin causal and if we believe that it gives us something valuable, then we're going to want to hold on to identification with the body because of the value that we're seeing in it. And then I think later on it's going to talk about that obstacle, the belief that the body is valuable for what it offers. So we're going to go ahead and stop here. It's a kind of a long section. But this last paragraph is really, really good, because it's distinguishing between true communion. It's not, it has nothing to do with guilt because it goes beyond the body. So, okay. So do you have any questions, Sonia, before we stop? Anything, comments, anything?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So thank you for joining, and until next time.